अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मायं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। तेऽहं श्रीयुतापतकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं स्वावधूतं परिजनासाहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपीश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुस्तुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Ashwin, for the wonderful Mangalacharan recital. We are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. We are on Canto 2, Chapter 1, and the text for today is text 32. Shashwin, would you like to read from Om Namo Bhagavate?
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तम श्लोक्तिर भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी।
Text 32.
वृद्धोत्तरौष्ठोदर एव लोभो धर्मास्तनो धर्मपातोऽस्य पृष्ठं कस्तस्यमेद्रं वृषणौ च मित्रौ कुक्षी समुद्र गिरयोस्ति संगा। हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Shashwin. Can you read line 1 and then we can repeat after you, Shashwin, please, so that we can have the same pronunciation as you. Hare Krishna, Pramila Mataji. Hare Krishna, Ritu Mataji. If you want, you can repeat after Shashwin so that our Sanskrit is better as we wait for Mataji to join.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, thank you.
Okay, Shashwin, read the first line, then we will try to repeat after you.
वृद्धोत्तरौष्ठोदर एव लोभो
वृद्धोत्तरौष्ठोदर एव
लोभो
धर्मस्तनो धर्मपातोऽस्य पृष्ठम्
धर्मस्थानो धर्मपातोऽस्य
पृष्ठम्
कस्तस्य मेद्रं वृषणौ च मित्रौ
कस्तस्य मेत्रं वृषणां च मित्रौ
कुक्षी समुद्र गिरयोस्ति संगा।
कुक्षी समुद्र गिरयोस्ति संगा. Ashwin, we can do once more. You were so good.
Thank you, Mataji.
Mhm.
Vriddho tarausto dara eva lomo.
Riddho tarastu dharai lobo.
Dharmastano dharmapatosya pristam.
Dharmastano dharmapatosya prishtam.
Kastasya medam vrishanau cha mitrau.
Kastasya medram krishnam cha mitro.
Kukshi samudra girayosti sanga.
Kukshik samudra girayosti sangha. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Shashwin, for helping us with the pronunciation. Hare Krishna, Panchali Mataji, Danvat Pranam. Please accept our humble obeisances on behalf of everybody who have joined the group and are about to join. Mataji, we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam. We are on Canto 2, Chapter 1, which is the first step in God realization. And the text for today is text 32. And Shashwin was helping us with the pronunciation, Mataji.
Thank you much, Ji. Thank you very much, Ashwin. Thank you so much. Dandavad Pranam to all of you. And thank you very much again for allowing me to discuss and serve Srimad Bhagavatam in this auspicious month of Kartik, and to serve all of you. I am here today by the mercy of my Guru and all the Gurus from whom I learn, and are able to say whatever they allow me to say by the mercies of my Gurus and the Lordships Radha and Krishna. So thank you very much once again for allowing me to be here. If I do make any mistakes in my discussion, please do correct me and please do advise me and correct me. Thank you very much, Matajis. So if I may quickly check, Mataji, Shashwin Prabhu, have you done the Mangalacharan? Oh, okay, sorry, so we can start, okay? So I'll just do my quick prayers. Amakyanatimirandhyasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshununmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Peshra Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharineni Vishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gauravaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Thank you very much, Mataji. So we are doing Canto 2, Chapter 1 and verse 32 today. So just a quick recap, very quickly, that this chapter is called The First Step in God Realization. And Sukhdev Goswami is taking us through the different stages of realizing God, and the different stages of becoming engaged in Lord in the process of bhakti, and how to become, and advising us on how to go from a very impersonal stage of realizing God to slowly become God conscious and realize the personal form of the Lord. So we have been going through various verses based on that. And now this particular verse, as Shashwin Prabhu has read, it it is a continuation of Sukdev Goswami relating the Lord's form and mentioning the Virat Rup and relating the Lord's form to the various parts of the body and also, you know, relating that to the various planetary systems, parts of nature, and anything and everything we find in creation, and relating that and advising us and teaching us that everything is contained in the Lord. Nothing is outside him. So the part, so again, through his journey of the step of, you know, God realization, the first step that Sukdev Goswami asks us to do is to just know ourselves, just find out what the purpose of life is, Atma Tattva, knowing why we are here in this material world, and knowing about that from a bona fide guru, a bona fide teacher who will be able to advise us, and, you know, who also will be able to advise us the benefits of chanting and how we can improve our God consciousness by chanting, by doing kirtan, by hearing and chanting and about the Lord and his devotees. And he also took us through how also to engage in the yogic process of pranayam, and, you know, controlling breath, but not just in a very impersonal way, but actually to relate it to the Lord, and giving more information about the qualities and the potencies of the Lord. He establishes the various parts of the planetary system of the universe and the various forms and concepts of the Lord and everything in creation, which can be perceived as various, or which can be related to various parts of the body of the Lord. So this is what we have been going through this whole chapter so far, and today's verse is a continuation of that, relating a few more characteristics to the Virat form of the Lord, and explaining a few further details as to why we are doing that. The three main points to look into this verse is that the Supreme Lord, again, reiterating the fact, and as mentioned in our purport today again, that the Supreme Lord is not impersonal. The Supreme Lord is personal. He's the Supreme Person as continued and as mentioned in all Vedic literature, and it cannot be mentioned any, you know, you know, it can be mentioned as many times as necessary and should be mentioned as many times as necessary. So that's the first point, reiterating the point again that the Supreme Lord is personal. The second point is that his personality is different from what we can conceive. So in our very narrow you know, material vision or material perception, we cannot really conceive the actual personality of the Lord, or his Virat form, or his greatness, or his majesty. We really can't. So just mentioning, just reminding us again that we really can't conceive the Lord or as what he is. And the third form is third point in this verse is that as a person, the Supreme Lord is complete in all his bodily organs. So you will realize that when describing the Lord and his body parts, not a single body part is missing. So Sukdev Goswami is trying to say that, you know, the Lord is complete and he has all the body forms, but it's just that the different body forms have different potencies. And so whereas one can be a Brahma, a creator, the other can be, you know, Agni or fire doing a different action. So the Supreme Lord has all the body forms intact, but they all have different work to do assigned by the Lord, and they all have different potencies. Okay, just as human beings, we have, the hands doing something, the feet doing something, and, a mouth doing something. The same thing, it's in a greater version, in a much more, inconceivable version, that happens in the same thing with the Lord. But he is there and he is present as personal, something which we can't conceive, but he's complete and he has the different parts of his body doing different activities. So these are the three main points that we have in our verse today and which we will try to discuss today. So what is the purpose of mentioning the universal form of the Lord? And Sukdev Goswami has been doing that for quite a few verses now. So what is the purpose? We go back to that again and again. So he's named this form of the Lord as Virat Roop, okay? A form that contains everything. Virat, as in, it has all the parts, everything is present, nothing is outside of this form. And, even the smallest of atom to the greatest and the biggest of things, the inconceivable sky, which has no end, everything is in the form. Ananta Shesha, we see, and the Ananta Shesha, he, with his unlimited mouths and unlimited tongues, he cannot stop talking about the Lord. And this is something which we really need to remember. So Sukdev Goswami is trying to talk about the Virat form, and it is so true to what the word Virat means, great. It's unlimited. So so we need to remember that, whereas in the material world, when we say a form, it has its limitations. There is a beginning and there is an end. But when we talk about the Lord, the Virat form, it is unlimited. It is endless. So we see Ananta Shesha with his unlimited tongues trying to talk about the glories of the Lord. And, for unlimited number of years, for time immemorial. And yet he's unable to finish talking about the qualities of the Lord. Okay, and what about Ananta Shesha? What about mere human beings? What about even Ananta Shesha? Even the Lord himself cannot understand just how great he is. And how do we know that? I mean, we see the Lord becomes amazed. Every other day he becomes amazed to see the devotions, the different types of devotions from his devotees. So, he cannot explain as to, one devotee has one particular type of relation to him and the other has a different one. And that is because although the Lord is absolute, the Lord is not static. The Lord is dynamic. And the Lord and his potencies and his qualities are evolving all the time. So even the Lord cannot understand the devotion in his heart, in the hearts of his devotees. He had to come down to, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, just to understand the amount of love that Radharani has for him, because he can perceive it himself. So even the Lord does not understand his qualities because it is so unlimited. So the Virat form is a form which is unlimited. So it has everything in it, but it is constantly evolving. It has no limit to it. So that is one thing which we need to remember all the time. And that is one thing that Sukdev Goswami wants us to understand from this verse. So if all the atoms in all the universes were counted, and they would still only constitute for just a spark in the whole creation of the Lord, and as one Prabhuji was saying, it's just like, what we can perceive of the Lord and his qualities is like, if we think about our universe to be just one mustard seed in a unlimited shaped mustard bag. We are just that one mustard seed, and even that we can't perceive properly, even that we can't understand. So we as human beings, we all have a form. Okay, so we understand that. Now, the Virat Roop, as we know, and as we have learned in the last few verses, it is to help materialists, and it is to help all the ones who want to worship the impersonal form of the Lord. It is to help them to understand the personal form of the Lord. So we all, as human beings, we all have a form. Now, even if as a human being, I am a materialist, or I am, or I believe in the impersonal form of the Lord, I cannot deny that I myself have a form, a finite form. I cannot deny that. And then it is me, we need to question that, where does this form of mine come from? So if we are believing in a supreme power, so where does this form of mind come from? If the power we believe in, if the creator we believe in does not have a form? Okay, so this is one of the questions which we need to ask ourselves if we don't want to believe in the personal form of the Lord. So by comparing the parts of the body of Krishna to the various things that we see in the universe or our body, or in the planetary system, Sukdev Goswami is trying to explain that Krishna is as personal as we find ourselves to be personal. So our body is the closest to us. That is the most personal thing to us. So by telling us, by telling us that the parts of the body are different parts of the planetary systems, or different parts of nature, Sukdev Goswami is telling us that the Lord is as personal as we perceive the things which we can perceive is. So he's that personal to us. So, and what is more, we are all included in that personal body of Krishna, or rather, it's not that, Krishna looks, so we think, oh, Krishna, when he comes down, when he incarnates, he looks like us. So rather, we need to change our thought process and start thinking that it is not Krishna who looks like us, but Krishna's Swam form, his form is the way we look. And we look the way we look because we are part of Krishna. So it's the other way around. So we exist, we look the way we are, the mountains and the rivers and the oceans and the trees, everything looks the way they are because they are part of Krishna. And Krishna is so merciful that when he comes with, as a human form, he is at his personal best, because he has taken the form as us, as human form. But we mustn't make the mistake of thinking that because Krishna has taken the human form, he is the same as us. And that is what our purport also mentions, that, we are the same, but we mustn't make the mistake of thinking that Krishna is the same as us. So by giving Krishna a form, Sukdev Goswami is telling us, or rather he's giving access to bhakti for those impersonalists. So who have no way of understanding how to pray to the Lord personally and think of a personal form. He's giving access to bhakti, he's giving access to Krishna to those impersonalists who are thinking, who do not know how other way to approach the Lord, by attaching the God's forms to various parts. by personalizing the gods. So he again and again and again draws attention to the fact that how great the Lord is and how much one-to-one relation the Lord wants to have with the smallest of entities in the universe. So Krishna, so again we so what is why is he doing this? Why is Sukdev Goswami doing this, you know, in every single verse, trying to tell us to you know, think of the Lord in this personal way? Because he wants to point us again and again to the fact just how much Krishna loves us. And how does he do that? Because by wanting us to have to relate our form to that form of Krishna, he wants to draw our attention as to how much and how intensively Krishna wants to have that one-to-one relation with us, the eternal belonging that Krishna has for all the jivas in this material world, suffering in this material world. So he wants to tell us that, you know, even if we have forgotten Krishna, Krishna hasn't forgotten us, and he wants us to go back to him. He wants us to realize that we are part of him, and he wants us to go back to him, and he wants us to be enlightened in this form by knowing him as the person who is our creator, who is the father of all. Okay, so this is the underlying message that Sukdev Goswami is giving us in all the verses. They are all, every single verse we are coming across, Sukdev Goswami is talking about a different part of body. But what's the underlying message? The underlying message is still going back to bhakti, still thinking of God to be personal, still thinking of loving the God as a person, and realizing that the Lord actually loves us even more, and loves us so much more that he really wants us to go back to him and know him, and by knowing him, wanting to leave this material world and go back to him. And that is why, you know, even through the Virat form, which is supposed to attract the impersonalists, he is trying to engage them more and more towards the path of being personal. And starting with the different planets, because that is with the feet, as we talked about the other day. We talked about the Patal Loka, which is the feet of the Lord, because bhakti is bhakti starts, or bhakti in humility, it starts at the feet of the Lord. And telling us that the only hope of the materialists in conceiving the transcendental nature of the Lord is to be able to see the Lord reflected in the material creation that we can perceive. So that's the only way that the materialists and the impersonalists can conceive the Lord, then can conceive the greatness of the Lord. We cannot, with our limited vision, we cannot conceive, we cannot really understand the Lord. But if we can relate the Lord to something which we can see, whether it's nature or whether it's our body form, then that is the only way in which we will be able to try and understand the Lord, by being able to see the Lord reflected within this material creation. And that is the purpose of the Virat form, to see the reflection of the Lord in the material creation, to help us to understand him, because otherwise we really can't understand him. So in Bhagavad Gita 10.8, Krishna says that I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds, and everything emanates from me. And the wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. In 10.20 in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna further says that I am the beginning, the middle, and the end of all the beings. And in 10.39 in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that I am the generating seed of all existences. There is no being moving or non-moving that can exist without me. So we see Krishna has already given us the tattva or the philosophy in Bhagavad Gita. And what he does through the Bhagavatam, he gives us further explanations of that. And one of the way in doing so is giving us the Virat form to try and explain that everything is contained in me. I am the beginning, I am the middle, I am the end. Okay, and there is nothing moving or unmoving that can really exist without me. So we see a continuation of the same teachings throughout our Shastras over and over again, reiterating the same thing. Now, in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, we see how Krishna says that the sun and the moon are his eyes. The mountains are his, and over here in the purport, Krishna says the mountains are his bones. The trees and the plants are the hairs on his body. And day and night, and again, we go between Shastras, we look into the verse today, we go back to Bhagavad Gita, chapters 10 and 11, and we see how the different parts of the body and forms are mentioned. And, we see how Krishna is saying that the day and the night are the opening and closing of my eyes. So you have to understand that, okay? And he also mentions about religion being the front and the chest, whereas irreligion is the back. And how very metaphoric is that? The back where we cannot see, where our vision can't go and we are blind, that is where irreligion happens. But something which we can't see, we have to maintain our dharma, we have to maintain religion over here. So Krishna says that, he incarnates yada yada hi dharmasya glani bhavati bharata abhaktana madharmasya tadatmanam srijam yaham. So I descend as and when there is irreligion in this world. So Krishna says, I will do that. But what you need to do is you need to realize religion. You need to realize with your eyes, which is in the front, okay? So religion is in the front, my chest. You need to see with your open eyes what dharma is, what religion is, what the right is, and avoid what is wrong, what you cannot see, what is a blind alley, what is at the back, what is dark. So with the eyes, see the light, see the sun. So when we are saying that my eyes are the sun, so if the sun, we may have the eyes, but if we do not have the sun's light, irrespective of having perfectly functioning eyes, we would still not be able to see anything. So if we have been given eyes, Krishna is saying, my eyes are the sun, so that it is something that illuminates. It gives you knowledge. So see the right things with the eyes. Do not exist in darkness. So we see in the purport again, Sukdev Goswami is saying that Brahma, Lord Brahma, he has been compared to the genitals, and very rightly so. Why? Because he is the first progenitor. He is in charge of the secondary creation. That was the task assigned to him by the Lord. And he is in charge of creating the 8.4 million species across the universe. And we have so many, we have unlimited universes, unlimited Brahmas, but talking about our Brahma. So we see how he is in charge of the 8.4 million species. And then we have Mother Nature, Ma Durga, who with her material energy, whether it's the three modes of nature, the Panchabhuta, she provides the material elements with which Lord Brahma creates the jivas, the 8.4 million species. And why does he do that? To give a body for the souls to enter and live their life in this material world as they wanted to when they separated from the Lord. and they wanted to lord themselves, and they wanted to come to this material world. So Lord Brahma, with the help of Mother Nature, creates the material bodies, so then Lord Brahma puts these jivas into the upper, middle, and the lower planets based on their karma, based on the desires of the soul. And this happens in every kalpa of Brahma until the whole annihilation takes place, and then the whole creation process starts again. So those who are materialistic, they see the Lord from this material point of view. Okay, and the Virat Rupa of the Lord satisfies them to understand Lord to a little bit. Okay, so by attaching, because they can see some of the things. So when we see the sun and the moon, or when these materialists or the impersonalists, when they see the sun and the moon, they can think about, oh, okay, I have read, or I have learned, or I have understood that the sun and the moon, they are the eyes of the Lord. Okay, it's like when they take pictures of a sunset or a sunrise, or they take pictures of a beautiful scenery, they capture it and they can see the beauty in it. So rather than just seeing the beauty in it, what Sukdev Goswami is trying to say is that because these are all parts of the Lord, when you click a picture and appreciate the beauty of nature, don't appreciate them as independently standing nature, but relate them to the Lord. Relate them to the fact that these are beautiful because they are part of the Lord, and the Lord is beautiful. They are, they provide us, and they give us pleasure, or they give us, happiness, because they are part of the Lord, who is Satchidananda in himself, and we are part of it, and we have to understand that everything is related. And when we, when we slowly from the impersonal form, slowly try to understand and engage in this personal form of the Lord, initially the Lord is seen with awe and reverence, because everything is great. Okay, so it's like when we go to Vrindavan, everything is so personal that nobody would even think of Krishna as the Lord, and even if you shout that out from the rooftop, nobody would still consider Krishna to be the Lord. But whereas outside Vrindavan, you can understand, especially when we are getting into, we're in the first step of God realization, we perceive nature and everything around us, which is humongous, which is majestic, which is beautiful. And by relating that beauty, that majesty to the Lord, we can understand how beautiful and how majestic and how glorious the Lord is. So if one is doing the yagna, when people or the brahmanas, they do mantras, they recite mantras. If there is a mention of Indra in the mantras, you can think about the hands of the Lord. If there is a mention of Agni, you can think about the mouth of the Lord. If there is mention of Varuna or Mitra Varuna, as this verse says, who are the Adityas, two of the Adityas, but Varuna is also related to water, and Mitra related to secretion. So again, all related to creation. So we can remember that. Okay. So there are different lords and adhishtita, or the different lords assigned to different parts of nature. So when Sukdev Goswami is saying that, the Lord Brahma is the genitals, there is a reason as to why he has assigned the genitals to Lord Brahma, because that was the task given by the Lord to Lord Brahma, and he is the Lord of creation. Similarly, the different parts of the body have different lords assigned to them. because every smallest thing in creation has a Lord who is in charge of the duty assigned to him or her by the Lord. Okay, and that is how we understand. So if you're thinking of the hands, when we're thinking of Indra, and we're thinking of, okay, that's, but our hands is also related to the Lord. So with these hands, we can perform the duties to serve the Lord. And we make the lords, these adhishtata lords, I hope I'm saying that Sanskrit word correctly, but these lords who are in charge of these different duties, we make them happy when we make use of the parts of the body or our sense organs in viewing something, in seeing something, in doing something. We make these lords happy when we tailor our doings and our sense organs in the service of the Lord. So, you know, when we are talking, rather than talking aimlessly, we'd rather chant, and that will make, you know, that will make the mouth happy. And when we think of the mouth, we think of Agni. So that is also a Lord. So we see that so many people, they are worshipping the demigods, but they worship the demigods as independent God, independent of the Lord. But by the Virat root, by this constant, you know, relating the Lord to not just the forms, but also to the demigods, also to each and every Lord assigned to each part of the body. So Dev Goswami is saying just how related we are. At the end of the day, we are all one. We are all under the big umbrella of the Lord. Okay, in this material world, we may have different relations. We may be in, you know, lots of different forms, but at the end of the day, in the spiritual world, we are all brothers and sisters because we are all coming from the same Father who is in charge of everybody. And this is, again, the underlying message being given to us that, yes, we worship, even if we want to worship the Lord through the demigod, we need not forget that, you know, the demigods are also part of the Lord, and they are the happiest when we serve the Lord. And we make use of their services to serve the Lord and ask for their blessings and mercy to be able to serve the Lord. So the first understanding of the Virat Roop is that, you know, the Lord has a form. So we have established that. Okay, the Lord has a form, and we have also established that the sum total of all creations and every object and thing and in the creation or in creation is part of the Lord. So we have established this too. But is that all that the Virat Roop tells us? Okay, so we also have to understand that the Virat Roop is also telling us a bit more about the Lord, that, you know, he comes, what I touched upon earlier towards the beginning of the session, that the Lord, through the Virat Roop, you know, through establishing the philosophy of it all, at the end of it is still the very, very basic point of bhakti, for love. Okay, so the Lord comes and incarnates in different forms. We have seen him come in his Matsya avatar or Kurma avatar, you know, or he comes as Varaha avatar, or he comes in a human form. So we see he can come in all these forms, and in all these forms, he's doing something extraordinary. And why is he doing something extraordinary? To save us, to save his devotees from devastation. Okay, so whether, you know, it is carrying the mountain or on his back in Kurma avatar to save the demigods, or to, you know, whether it's to save the creation or human form in Matsya avatar, or even, you know, whilst engulfing the forest fire. when he was with his cowherd friends, he, in every form, he comes to establish and re-establish the fact that he and nobody else but he is our only savior. And he is the only person who can save us and wants to save us, because there is that relationship of love between him and us. So he wouldn't be saving the demons. I mean, he says, as you react to me, I will react to you. So if Shishupal or if Kamsa were constantly thinking of him, but as an enemy, he came, and because even they are part of him, or they were part of him, he treated them the way they wanted to be treated, because they thought of Krishna as enemy. So Krishna satisfied their wishes by being an enemy to them. Krishna saves his devotees because the devotees have love towards him, and Krishna showers them with love. So Krishna is impartial, but as we want to have a relationship with Krishna, Krishna reciprocates in the same way. So the Virat group is also trying to tell us that, Krishna comes in the form of, various incarnations, because when we understand that everything is within that Virat group, so even that Kurma form, even all its incarnations are included in that Virat group, we are also being attracted to the fact that Krishna comes to us because he wants to come to us and have that personal relationship, that personal rasa with him, whether it's in the form of an enemy, whether it's in the form of fear, as we see it's a Damodar month going on now. So we see he's fearful of Lord of his mother, but that he enjoys that, whether it's in the form of love, as with Radharani and the gopis, or his devotees. But it is again telling us that, please don't forget that although you cannot conceive that how great is the sky, how deep is the ocean, how tall are the mountains, but you can see and you can understand and you can conceive and perceive Krishna's love towards his devotees, because this is exactly what he did for his devotees, to save them. So this is something which you can perceive. So again, making something which we cannot conceive and making it something simpler for us to understand through the various ways. So this is again being brought and to attention through this Virat form, but through a way in which we can understand the Virat form. I was listening to, one of, it's probably, I can't remember whether it's probably Amarendra Prabhu's teachings, one of his teachings, where he was saying that, we think of Krishna as this gigantic, as the doer of everything, as the creator of everything, and he's able to do everything and anything and everything. Let's think about, the Damodar Leela, every time Mother Yashoda was trying to bind him, that you couldn't, there was always that gap of 2 fingers. Krishna brought down 2 huge Arjuna trees, and he brought them down crashing, and he was only a baby at the time. And nobody would understand that. Now, how did Krishna do that? And when we try to define how is somebody able to do anything, okay? If I'm able to fight, or if I'm able to do something, how am I able to do that? I am able to do that with my Shakti, with my strength, aren't I? So when I talk about my strength, and when we talk about Krishna's strengths, rather, we immediately have to think about Radharani, because Krishna may be the Shaktiman, but without his Shakti, Radharani, he wouldn't be able to do anything. So it's very right that Chaitanya Charitamrita says that, Radha Krishna ek atma dui dehotori ananya vilase rasa ashwadan kori. Or Radha and Krishna are one and the same, but they have assumed two bodies. Thus, they enjoy each other, tasting the mellows of love. So Prabhuji was saying, when we think about, we automatically think of, when Krishna was holding that Govardhan hill on his little finger, we think Krishna is doing that, but we forget that it's actually Krishna is doing that with his Shakti. And who is his Shakti? His Shakti is none other than Radharani. So as we say that, the universal form of the Lord is Krishna and he's able to do everything, what we mustn't overlook is the fact that Krishna is always with Radharani. The concept, the philosophy of Krishna consciousness is not a stand-alone of Krishna himself. The philosophy of Krishna consciousness, the philosophy of Sanatana Dharma, the philosophy of eternal dharma and eternal religiosity is a combination of Radha and Krishna together, and not just Krishna. So although in the Virat form we say, yes, it is Krishna, but we mustn't forget that Radharani is with Krishna at all times. And what is more interesting, I'm conscious of the time, 10 minutes, okay. So what is further interesting is that, we see in how Chaitanya Charitamrita says that they are the same, but they have separated themselves to engage in rasa. And as soon as we talk about the word rasa, immediately the first thing that comes to us is that it's very personal, because rasa can only exist if there's a personality, if there's something personal. And that is what is being talked about in this verse again, because what is being told to us in this verse again is that modesty, right at the beginning, it's been said that modesty is the upper portion of his hips, of Krishna's hips, and hankering is his chin. We've talked about the other parts. We've talked about religion being the breast, irreligion being the back, Brahmaji being the genitals, and Mitra Varuna his two testicles. So we've talked about that. But let's come to the first things he mentions. He says that modesty is the upper portion of his hips and hankering is his chin. Now, these are not forms. These are not parts of the body, modesty and hankering. These are qualities. Okay, these are qualities. And qualities can only exist and can only be possessed by someone who has a form and someone who not just has a form, but someone who has a personality. So if we are assigning qualities like modesty and hankering to a form, we immediately, by default, make that a person, a personal form, because we are assigning qualities to it. Okay, now modern science cannot pin down this concept to, modern science cannot assign modesty or hankering or the feelings, any kind of feelings to an atom or to a DNA. So modern science can't do that. But when it comes to Krishna, when we understand that because Sukadeva Goswami is actually assigning these qualities to the different parts of the body, they automatically are assigned to not just a person, but a personality, a personal form. And again, drawing our attention to the form, to the fact that that how personal Krishna is. So all who are present in the spiritual world, they already are aware of it. Okay, and all the qualities that we see in the material world, they all exist in the spiritual world. So hankering in the material world can sometimes be perceived as a negative quality, because you hanker for things, and that automatically brings about attachment, and automatically, if there is attachment, that is a cause for bondage. So hankering can have negative qualities as well. But when we go to the spiritual world, it is hankering for Krishna. It is wanting to be with Krishna. So all the qualities, negative or positive, that becomes negative in the material world, when we, in its purest form, in the original form, in the spiritual world, because they are all geared towards Krishna, they are pure and they are all positive. Okay, it's just like when we talk about, people perceive the Rasa Leela and Krishna dancing with wives of other men. They perceive that as something wrong. But when we understand as to why Krishna is doing that, and the fact that he is in charge, he is the original Purusha, and all of us are Prakriti, then we understand that there is nothing wrong in that, and that the wives or the mothers are not actually cheating on their husbands or cheating on their children or cheating on their family at all, because they are surrendering to the ultimate God, or the ultimate father, or the ultimate lover, or the ultimate, friend. So whichever way we want to perceive Krishna as, or whichever rasa we have with Krishna. So this is again something we need to understand when we are looking into the qualities being assigned to him. So Sukdev Goswami is very slowly but steadily moving from the universal form, from the planets down to one planet, and inside the planet down to the various parts of nature, the various parts of the body, and not just the form of the body, the physical part of the body. Now he is talking about qualities or feelings of the body. And with each step, he is progressing one step at a time in establishing the fact how personal Krishna is, and telling and reminding the materialists of or the impersonalists that Krishna is personal, Bhakti is personal. Okay, so in conclusion, we can say that even us who have we try to understand that Krishna is personal. Even for us, it's impossible to really understand the whole form of Krishna, or the unlimited form of Krishna. And as we mentioned, even Krishna doesn't understand that, because he's constantly evolving. And it's all based on love. Okay, our whole the creation exists on love. So so we have to also meditate, even though we are not impersonalists, but we also need to meditate on the Virat Roop in some way or the other, to understand just how majestic and how glorious the Lord is, to admire the Lord's greatness in the smallest of things, or in the most beautiful of things in nature, or in the most glorious and wonderful things, or even things which we cannot understand. A few decades ago, people wouldn't even know how people can talk on the internet, being in 2 different countries, how to fly the airplane. So things which we cannot really understand, we understand it by signposting them directly to Krishna, understanding that it's all Krishna's creation, and Krishna is able to do anything and everything. And because he's able to do anything and everything happening in this material world, anything and everything that we see in this material world is a part of Krishna. because we have to personalize it in that way. And the fact that his greatness and the greatness of Krishna lies in Krishna wanting to make us understand this by coming in his incarnations over and over again, not just telling us of his Virat Roop, but also coming in the form of a human being. But always remembering that although he comes to us in our form, we are in his form, and he is not the same as us. We are just a part, and a tiny part and parcel of him. Okay, so that is the Virat form, but again, coming to the smallest of form in the very, very personal form of Krishna. So with that, I conclude my discussion today. Again, if I have made any mistakes, please do correct me. Okay, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you so much for this elaborate verse. And I have the penny has dropped in a lot of places, but I'm cognizant of the time, so I'll save those for another time. Are there any questions or comments from the group? If there are no questions or comments, then maybe I can.
Hare Krishna.
Yes,
Hare Krishna
yes.
Mataji. Hare Krishna.
The,
How can I not comment on Mataji's class? She is so thorough, you know. She goes deep in all the philosophies, and she has she's in a mode of comparison, you know, going back to Bhagavad Gita, and which is true in Bhagavad Gita chapter 10. Krishna described, I'm among the mountain, I'm the Himalayas, I'm on the rivers, I'm Ganga, there's the water, I'm Varuna, all these things, and she's putting the kind of the dot on the I, like, yes, this is like this very, very nice, Mataji. Thank you so much for kind of, because I wasn't not sure about the Virat Roop. That's why I asked a question the other day. Yeah. So now she is kind of like a little child, you know. She's telling us this part is for this why the Lord Krishna assigned different activity to different demigods, and who he is and why. You know, she put it so clearly. Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji, for your encouragement and motivation. So it's whatever I say.
You don't need encouragement. You are encouraging us now. If we go and do some research in other parts also. Thank you so much.
It's also going back to the Virat Roop, isn't it? So whatever we are able to say, we can only say that because Krishna and our Guru is allowing us to say this. Can. So if not, we wouldn't be able to say anything. The words wouldn't come out of us. So, and also, you know, it's blessings of all devotees like you, you know. I learned so much from all of you. So thank you so much, Matajis and Prabhujis.
Yes, we learn from each other. As I always say, we come together, we learn together, we grow together. But then someone who is there to sit there and talk about it, she must be very courageous, and for sure it's Krishna's mercy. And you are blessed, you're very fortunate in this Kartik month you got the opportunity to tell us about Krishna, about his thought of his body. Thank you so much. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Indulekha Mataji, for that comments and encouragement and blessings. I know you are a very senior devotee, and but in this Krishna conscious platform, that I mean, even a small person, 5-year-old Shashwin, can be so inspirational to us. So the age is just a number. Thank you so much, Mataji, for this. If you have time, I just wanted to give 2 realizations. And I mean, if there is no time for the rest of them, I would, if they want to log out, I'm very happy to, if they want to do that. But it really, the penny really dropped when you said that the Lord is not static and he's dynamic and he evolves. So I understood it now because I'm an immunologist, and the immune system evolves over time. So what, I mean, probably 100 years ago, there was no plastic, or no rubber 500 years ago, but now we have, and the immune system has evolved to react against it. Sorry, it's very technical, but that's the way I'm understanding it. So as the immune system evolves, it's not static. I can now understand that, yes, Lord's love will be also evolving. It is not, it is dynamic. It's not static that, oh, if you just do this, then he'll love you. I mean, you can do anything and he will love you. So I really, really appreciated that point. Thank you so much.
Beautifully put across, Mataji. Thank you so much. Yes, it's a point that really fascinates me as well, because every other day that can be, it can be because it's just one-to-one relationship with God, and that is what the Lord is saying. He's inconceivable. He's in charge of so much, and yet with the smallest of jiva, he wants to have that one-to-one relation, and he is hankering. And it's these words which are so important. Hankering, it's both ways. It's the Lord hankering for our love as well, just as we hanker for, and we very, very wrongly, we hanker in this material world. We hanker for the wrong things without realizing that we have a gem to hanker towards or for, and that is what Sukdev Goswami is wanting us to, he's picked up very, very important words and very, very important qualities to make us understand why we should go back to that love for God, why we should, go back to bhakti. So yeah.
Yeah. And another thing I got again, where the penny dropped, like the human body is made up of so many cells, yeah, and more than the number of cells, there are more microorganisms in us. So there are lots of bugs living in us everywhere in our body, even on top of the skin, in the intestine, in the lungs, everywhere. So just one bug. So we, like you said, we are one rye. Our universe is one rye in a bag of rye. So I understood it better now when I say, okay, that one bug, if it came out and saw me, would have thought that, oh my God, is this what I'm living into? I mean, so I mean, it's now this Virat Rupa is now getting, I'm understanding it better. Like even Indulekha Mataji said that she's understood it better now after all these explanations that you've given. So thank you so much for dropping the penny in our small heads today.
Yes, Mataji, in a class, I realized once that we will show that we are living and we are one soul, and there is a super soul. That means there are two souls in our body. But then during that class, I realized no, we are not. There are not only one soul in our. There are thousands of souls in our body. If you take the cells, they're multiplying every day. If you take all the bugs in our body, so we don't have only one soul in our body. There are millions, maybe. Right?
Yeah, the number of bacteria that we have, and each bacteria is a soul. So we comprise of so many souls. So I feel I'm a bag now with lots of small jivas in it. I mean, this is just external, but actually I'm a bag with lots of jivas in it. Yeah. And each jiva has a soul and a super soul.
Yeah. It's just fascinating, isn't it? And
yeah.
It's just, I mean, it's impossible to even try to think of how great the Lord is. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for today's session. And I just wanted to know, there is a devotee who joins us with her name of YS, your servant. So kindly let me know, are you a different devotee or somebody who's with us and you've changed your name? Hare Krishna. Your servant, kindly please tell us, reveal your identity. Okay, maybe tomorrow, because maybe his or her internet is not.
Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. Oh, it's Prashanatma Prabhu. Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. Hare Krishna. You've changed your name. I just thought it's a new devotee, so I just wanted to welcome. But thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the class, Mataji. Wonderful, and
Thank
just
you,
here
Mataji.
listening, silent. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Let us all chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra once in glorification of Panchali Kar Mataji and then conclude the session. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhuvaiva cha Vaishnavebhyo namo
Namaha.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Grantaraj
Grace
Srimad
Panchali
Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai. Grace Panchali Mataji ki Jai.
Jai. Thank you for your service.
So
Thank
much
you
for today's
all.
session.
Thank you.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Very nice class. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Thank you.